150 years ago, or 200 years ago, when the blacks were slaves, did they ever go to Washington, D.C. and have a rally 200 years ago to protest against slavery? Did they? No. What did they do? Well, a lot of good people in the plantations would say, hey, it's wintertime. Let us help build a church for you, dear folks. And they loved them and taught them how to read so they can read the Bible. And here's what the blacks did about 150 years ago. They humbled themselves. They prayed. They sought God's face and they turned from their wicked ways. And God made slavery illegal through several white presidents, right? It worked, didn't it? They didn't protest.
You big dummy.
Now I will never be your hater, I'm your biggest fan. I hope it falls into place just how you planned it. Life could put you in a pickle, just make sure it's kosher. Lean on me like Bill Withers until you smell the roses.
What's happening, fam? Yeah. L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscriber die trying. You see that. Yeah, Mr. White Man. This is the problem when it comes to race and history in America. And just add in religion, because definitely religion, right? You have people who really, this is what they believe in their head. I don't know who let this guy preach. I don't know how he got his church, but he's a complete moron. That's just by what he said. Shout out to Tariq Nasheed for having that clip. That's where I got it from. But man, when people talk about, oh, we shouldn't have critical race theory, but we should have this though. And here's another thing. When it comes to this type of racial BS, more times than not, I'm tired of seeing white guys who look like they eat pigs for a living try to do this. 200 years ago, 150 years ago, did they march to Washington? You mean in slavery? Like, did the slaves on all these different plantations all over America, including, by the way, Washington, D.C., because George Washington was the first president and he owned slaves, right? Did those slaves march to Washington? That's dumb. But this is what people do in society. They say something and make up something as if it works today. Because like what works today would have worked, 200, 150 years ago. Like, why didn't the blacks that were slaves storm the Capitol like January 6th? How did you pass kindergarten? Is my question. Because you've grown as a mug and you're really stupid. Just really stupid. But hey, and then we got to bring this religion part into it. In slavery, they humbled themselves and they prayed and God gave them something. And the white man and white people, like myself. Listen, man. And I'm sure somebody, like people are going to blame people like, these are conservatives, these are Republicans, these are the people on the far right because they're this stupid. As stupid as liberals are about, doing things for Americans that make no sense, that have really no reason, just to make people feel good. This emotional BS. On the right, you just have people their minds are just in another dimension. Like, I don't know what they think about. It's like Oreos, bondage porn, politics, and math in reverse. Like, I don't get it. But hey, you got a church full of people like, amen, pastor. Amen, that's what they did, pastor. And then, see, this is where, and unfortunately, I will say this. This type of ideology, I think, is prevalent in America just because of how America is. But what I also think is this. These people know good and well not to ever try to actually bring that logic to a black person. They know that. Because, you know, Pastor Diabetes over there knows somebody will beat the brakes off of him. See, if he tried to push that logic to a black human being. Like, what? Man, if you don't get out of my face with that. Well, you should humble yourself before God and kneel before me. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay, man. Okay. You're stupid and you're arrogant. And taking that step further, this is, sometimes you get other groups of people, other races and ethnicities of people, they go down the same rabbit hole. Yeah, Pastor Obesity told me that when your people were slaves, you loved it, and we built a church for you to be enslaved, and yeah, and you humbled yourself before God. How come you can't kneel? How come you can't humble yourself before God now and deal with the racism? I'm gonna throw you off a bridge. That's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna throw you off a bridge. Because what's basically going on is you have people who they use this type of stuff to fish for people like themselves to get an advantage over somebody else, somebody that looks like me. And the problem is a person who looks like me won't even know. Like, this is what I mean. Like, he's in a church and, they're amening this type of stupidness. But guess what? How many people who work in a bank are at their church? How many police officers are at that church? How many people in the medical field are in that church? How many people who work in, let's just say, employment are in that church? How many people are in education in that church? And they take this into their occupation, into their field. But they're not going to actually say anything to the black people that they come across with and play these games with. How many people work in food at that church? How many people might work in automotive? I'm selling you a car, so I'm gonna charge you extra. Did you humble yourself? How many people work in insurance at that church and they're trying to jam you up? How many people work in repairs for homes or cars and they see a black person, they go, I'm going to do a bad job and mess some stuff up until you humble yourself. And you're going to have to pay me extra. Because back in the day, 150 years ago, you would have known your place. This is the issue with stuff like this. And then all of these people congregate together and they come together and they do these, what we call microaggressions. So you really don't know who to knock out because, like I said, the pastor's gonna say this stupid stuff in public, but you didn't turn the camera around to the congregation, to all the people in the comment section, like, "Amen, Pastor Obesity. Amen, Amen, Reverend of Diabetes. Amen." So at the end of the day, when we say, this is why people need to know more about black history, because just the stupidity of the things that this guy made up. And unfortunately, like I said, there are people in education who believe that. You can go down any rabbit hole in America and believe any kind of stupidity. And you have people who dedicated their lives, who passed this stupidity down from generation to generation to generation to generation. Now it's just normal. It's just normal. You know what I'm saying? It's just normal. So to me, it's like, am I surprised? No. Am I shocked? No. Because this is America. And this is what people do. And the crazy part about it is people see stuff like this and they go, oh, it's just a one-off. Not really. Not really. Think about the black folks who were homeowners who've been selling their homes and they have to take everything black out of the home so they can get a fair price. Or they have to get a white person to actually act like they're the one selling the home, so when they get the home appraised, it gets appraised properly. That's the type of people that's in that church. That's the type of people. But tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe, or die trying. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
You ever been at the top of the universe? I'm gonna tell you that.